Steve Adubato here. More importantly, let's talk education with a guy who knows it. He is Patrick Wall, senior reporter at Chalkbeat Newark. Good to see you, Patrick.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You got to let everyone know what Chalkbeat is.
We're a news outlet that covers education. We're in different places across the country, and I cover schools in New Jersey, specifically focused on Newark.
And by the way, the Chalkbeat website will be up for people to find out more. Let's talk learning loss. We're doing this program late in September, going into the end of 2021 and 2022. How bad is the learning loss, particularly in a city like Newark, my hometown, Brick City, given the 19 months into this pandemic as we speak? How bad is the learning loss? And then we'll talk about what it means.
Sure. It's pretty bad. And this is something that students across the country have faced and across New Jersey. So it's certainly not just Newark. I think there were some additional challenges here that made it especially severe for a lot of students. They were out of school longer than some other places. Even when Newark started reopening classrooms last April, less than half of students came back. So most students, when they came back this September, had been out of school for 18 months. And so being out of school was obviously a big issue. Internet challenges, devices, not being able to log on at the beginning, and then all the things going on at home, families, out of jobs in some cases or dealing with illness. So students has had so much going on. So the impact is that when students took tests last spring to kind of measure where they were, only 9% had met state expectations in math in the elementary grades 2 to 8, and about 11% in reading. And then among high school students, not that many even took the SATs or AP tests, partly because they weren't required to get to graduate. But of those who did, only 1 in 4 passed the AP tests. And on the SATs, I think was about 472 was the average math score out of 800. So overall, a lot of different measures. There was definitely pretty severe academic impact on kids.
Yeah, let's complicate it more. If you watch NJ Spotlight News, our great the public television program every night with Brianna Venozzi, you'll see, and Patrick's spin on it. One of the other issues they're covering extensively is the teacher shortage. In Newark, the teacher shortage seems to be worse. A, am I correct? B, why is that?
It is definitely pretty bad here. Again, it's an issue that we're seeing across the country, across different districts. Newark already had that issue even before the pandemic. There's a lot of turnover here. Sometimes teachers will go to other districts for better pay and other reasons. So that was already an issue, but it's gotten worse. Some people think it's because of people leaving because of all the stress and challenges and risks of COVID. But what we've seen that when schools opened in the beginning of this month, there were 120 unfilled positions. And so what that means is that kids were coming into their classes in a lot of cases and finding a substitute teacher, or there are more students in their room because they had to combine classes. And so that has a real impact on kids throughout the school year.
Again, when Patrick's talking about Newark, you can extrapolate, not that it's apples to apples or exactly the same. Camden, Jersey City, Trenton, East Orange, New York, whether you're talking about the Brooklyn or the Bronx. I mean, these issues are not that much different, but Newark does have some unique challenges. I don't know why I thought about this, but the learning loss issue, go back to it again. There's been learning loss across the board, but Livingston, I believe, is 5 or 6 miles from Newark. There's Livingston learning loss for kids, and there's Newark learning loss. How much worse is it in Newark than it is in a Livingston, which is a wealthier, whiter community with more resources?
You're absolutely right. Again, research nationally has shown that students of color, Black and Latinx students, and low-income students were most severely impacted by learning loss. They were starting behind in some cases of more affluent students, and then they fell further behind during the pandemic. And again, going back to some of those reasons, in a lot of cases, kids in lower income households didn't have as much access to technology, so couldn't do remote learning, had more stuff going on at home, just all kinds of compounding issues. And like you said, schools having fewer resources. And so Newark was hit harder than other places, but so were other districts that serve a lot of students of color and low income kids.
So Patrick, let's try this. Academic loss, educational challenges, all serious, important, significant. But the other thing that I want to follow up on is emotional and mental health issues. Talk to me about the toll on Newark students and their families from a behavioral health perspective as it relates to COVID and what that has to do with education?
Yeah. I mean, I just heard this time and again when I was talking to students over the past year and a half during this. You could just hear that they were so stressed out. Their parents were saying this too, and their teachers. Partly it's just the boredom of being at home and learning on a computer, being away from their friends and teachers, not having the normal outlets like sports and arts programs and clubs. And then, like I mentioned, all the other stuff that was going on outside the house, including, the killing of George Floyd and our debates over race. That obviously had a huge impact on kids' mental state. And so that led, again, nationwide, increases in anxiety, depression were showing up, more emergency room visits for kids were due to mental health crises. And so it was having a real impact. And that definitely affects learning because, educators will tell you kids can't learn if they don't feel safe, secure, if they're distracted. And so what I've heard from a lot of folks and from the district is that they plan to start this year, and they did start this year, focusing on trying to get kids just feeling comfortable, secure.
But how? I'm sorry for interrupting in the interest of time. Are there mental health professionals? Are there enough of them in urban communities to be helpful to these children and their families?
It's a big challenge. In Newark before this, there were I think more than 550 students per counselor, which is twice the national average. That kind of caseload, you really can't do individual counseling. And so they're going to have to staff up. What they're doing in the meantime, they're having teachers talk to kids about strategies they can use like meditation and deep breathing. But you're right. I mean, it's a resource issue too. They need more people to help.
Before I let you go, teachers, there's a vaccine mandate for teachers and staff in public schools, but it's combined as we speak right now. If you don't have the vaccine, there's a regular testing procedure. What impact has that had on the educational process or system in Newark? And also, as we speak, and hopefully when this program airs and after, students younger than 12 will be able to get the vaccine. Put those together and talk about its impact on education.
Newark has done pretty well in terms of staff members. More than 70% are already vaccinated. And so that is a positive. And so the remaining staff members are going to have to get tested weekly if they don't decide to get vaccinated. And students actually have been a bright spot here in Newark. In July, only about 30% of eligible kids were vaccinated, which is very low. But then they did a really intense outreach campaign, started opening clinics in schools, and now 55% at the start of the year were vaccinated, and they're hoping to get that up. And so,
but that's over 12 as we do this program.
Yeah. So once they make younger kids eligible, then they're going to have to do another push. But they now have a kind of infrastructure to give them in school, so hopefully that'll help.
Yeah. Hey, Patrick Wall, you and your colleagues are doing important work at Chalkbeat. I want to thank you so much for adding to the conversation about education, particularly in our most vulnerable communities. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate it.
That's Patrick Wall, senior reporter, Chalkbeat Newark. Check them out on their website. We'll be right back right after this.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the CAUCUS Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by PSC&G, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities Clean Energy Program, Johnson & Johnson, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, the New Jersey Education Association, University Hospital, and by Caldwell University. Promotional support provided by Insider NJ and by NJBIZ.
Every day, nearly 2 million customers across New Jersey rely on PSC&G to provide natural gas. And every day, PSC&G is committed to doing it safely. That includes making sure you know what to do if you smell gas. A natural gas leak smells like rotten eggs. If you suspect a gas leak, leave your home immediately. Get far away, then call 911. Remember, smell, leave, call. Protect the ones you love. Learn more at pscg.com/gas safety.